The blockchain and NFT history. Imagine a world where trust is no longer an expectation, but a mathematical certainty. A world where transactions, agreements, and even digital identity are recorded immutably, transparently, and accessibly to all, without the need for powerful, centralized intermediaries. Does it sound like science fiction? Yet this is the promise, and in many cases, already the reality, brought by a technology that is silently, but inexorably, redesigning the foundations of our digital universe, the blockchain. But what lies behind this now ubiquitous term? Simply put, the blockchain is a distributed digital ledger, a kind of shared and continuously updated master record composed of a chain of blocks of information, each linked to the previous one through advanced cryptography. Every transaction, once added, cannot be altered or deleted, guaranteeing an unprecedented level of security and transparency. And if the blockchain is the stage, non-fungible tokens, aka NFTs, are among the most surprising and discussed actors to have emerged on this scene. Think of a unique object in the physical world, an original painting, a first edition of a book. NFTs bring this concept of uniqueness and verifiable ownership into the digital realm. They are not mere copies, but certificates of authenticity and possession for digital assets, whether it's a work of art, a piece of music, a collectible item in a video game, or even a tweet. The roots of blockchain. Before Bitcoin. Although the word blockchain has only entered common parlance in the last decade, its intellectual foundations are rooted in decades of cryptographic and computer science research. The idea of creating secure, immutable, and tamper-resistant digital systems was not born with Bitcoin, but is the result of an evolution of thought aimed at solving fundamental problems of trust in the digital world. As early as 1991, long before the world knew the concept of cryptocurrency, two researchers, Stuart Haber and W. Scott Stornetta, presented an ingenious solution for timestamping digital documents. Imagine wanting to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that a certain file existed on a certain date and has not been modified since. Haber and Stornetta proposed a system in which digital fingerprints, cryptographic hashes of documents, were grouped and linked in a chain, making it extremely difficult to retroactively alter any information without invalidating the entire sequence. It was, in essence, a direct precursor to the blockchain. They periodically published these hashes in the New York Times, using a physical newspaper as an immutable and publicly verifiable anchor of trust. In parallel, other pioneers were laying the groundwork. Consider Adam Back and his Hashcash, developed in the 1990s as a mechanism to prevent email spam. Hashcash required a small amount of computational work to send an email, a concept that would later become central to Bitcoin's proof-of-work mechanism. These and other contributions, often originating in academic environments or cypherpunk communities, groups of activists, cryptographers, and computer scientists who promoted the use of cryptography for privacy and social change, were slowly but surely building the puzzle. The goal was not yet a global digital currency, but the creation of more robust, resilient, and, above all, digital infrastructures that did not depend on single central authorities to guarantee data integrity. The stage was set for a revolutionary synthesis, for someone to unite these scattered threads into a coherent and disruptive tapestry. The advent of Bitcoin, the first true blockchain. The global financial world was on the brink. It was 2008, the year of the great financial crisis, a time when trust in traditional institutions was faltering like never before. In this climate of uncertainty and disillusionment, an enigmatic individual, or group of individuals operating under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, published a 9-page white paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Few people at the time understood the scope of that document, but it contained the seeds of a revolution. On January 3, 2009, the Bitcoin network became operational with the creation of the Genesis block, the first block of its blockchain. Inside, Nakamoto engraved a prophetic message, a headline from the Times of London. The Times, March 1, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. A scathing commentary on the fragility of the existing financial system and, implicitly, a statement of intent for his creation. Bitcoin was not just a new digital currency. It was the first concrete and large-scale working application of blockchain technology. Nakamoto had brilliantly combined pre-existing concepts: public key cryptography, peer-to-peer networks, and Adam Back's aforementioned Hashcash, renamed proof of work, to create a decentralized monetary system that did not require banks or governments to function. These were the pillars on which Bitcoin, and by extension its blockchain, rested. The blockchain, a public and distributed ledger of all Bitcoin transactions, organized into cryptographically linked blocks. Each new block strengthens the security of the previous ones. Proof of work, a consensus mechanism that requires network participants, miners, to solve complex mathematical problems to validate transactions and create new blocks. This process is costly in terms of energy and computing power but ensures network security and prevents fraud. Decentralization. No single entity controls Bitcoin. The network is maintained by thousands of computers in the world, making it extremely resilient to censorship or single points of failure. The impact of Bitcoin was explosive. Initially confined to niches of cryptography and technology enthusiasts, it slowly began to gain traction, demonstrating that a digital, trustless, not requiring trust in third parties and censorship-resistant value system was not only possible but achievable. Bitcoin was not just money, it was living proof that blockchain could work, opening the doors to a universe of possibilities that went far beyond simple financial transactions. The genie was out of the bottle. The evolution of blockchain, beyond cryptocurrencies. If Bitcoin was the pioneer that showed the world the power of blockchain, Ethereum was the architect that unveiled its versatility. Launched in 2015 thanks to the vision of the young Russian-Canadian programmer Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum introduced a revolutionary concept: smart contracts. Imagine a traditional contract but written in computer code and automatically executed by the blockchain when certain predefined conditions are met. No more intermediaries to enforce agreements. No more interpretative ambiguities, only mathematical logic and immutable code. Smart contracts transform the blockchain from a simple database for transactions into a kind of decentralized world computer, capable of running complex applications called dApps, decentralized applications. Ethereum's innovation unleashed a wave of creativity, decentralized finance, DeFi, perhaps the most disruptive application. Lending, exchange, insurance and investment systems built on blockchain without traditional banks or financial institutions, decentralized autonomous organizations (DAOs), entities governed by code and community decisions without a central hierarchical structure, and, of course, the technological foundation that would later enable the explosion of NFTs. But the evolution did not stop at Ethereum. Second and third generation blockchains emerged, each seeking to address the limitations of the previous ones, particularly scalability. The ability to process a large number of transactions quickly. Bitcoin and Ethereum in their initial forms were relatively slow.
Interoperability, the ability of different blockchains to communicate and exchange information with each other.
Sustainability, reducing the enormous energy consumption associated with proof of work, pushing towards alternative consensus mechanisms like proof of stake, where validation is based on token ownership rather than computing power. Use cases multiplied exponentially, touching sectors unthinkable just a few years ago, from traceability of food supply chains to ensure product origin and quality, to secure management of medical records, healthcare, from the creation of more transparent and secure electronic voting systems, to the aforementioned DeFi revolution. Blockchain was proving to be much more than just an infrastructure for cryptocurrencies. It was a fundamental technology with the potential to redefine entire industries. The birth of NFTs, tokenizing digital uniqueness, as blockchain matured, exploring applications ranging from finance to logistics. Another idea, seemingly more niche but equally powerful, was taking shape. How can we represent the uniqueness and ownership of digital goods in a world where everything seems infinitely replicable? The answer came in the form of non-fungible tokens, NFTs. To understand NFTs, we must first grasp the concept of fungibility. A fungible good is something that can be exchanged for another identical good without loss of value. Atis euro banjegi fungibilis, epen oyan ertico min barmeli mas tis euro bankiegi. Bitcoin is also fungible. One Bitcoin is worth as much as another Bitcoin. A non-fungible good, on the contrary, is unique and not directly interchangeable. An original Picasso painting is non-fungible. You cannot exchange it for another Picasso painting expecting it to be the same. NFTs are the digital representation of these unique goods. They are cryptographic tokens registered on a blockchain that certify the ownership and authenticity of a specific asset, whether it's an image, a video, a piece of music, a text, or even a plot of land in a virtual world. The first experiments with unique digital assets date back to the era of colored coins on Bitcoin, around 2012 to 2013. These were small fractions of Bitcoin colored, meaning marked with additional information to represent real-world goods or digital assets. It was a rudimentary approach, but it planted the seed of the idea. Platforms like Counterparty, built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain and launched in 2014, allowed for the creation of more sophisticated tokens, including some of the first examples of digital art and tokenized memes, such as rare pepes. However, the real breakthrough for NFTs came with Ethereum and the introduction of the ERC-721 token standard. This standard provided a common and interoperable model for creating and managing non-fungible tokens on the Ethereum blockchain, greatly simplifying the process and opening the doors to wider adoption. But it was in November 2017 that NFTs had their first moment of true viral celebrity. The game CryptoKitties, which allowed users to collect, breed, and trade unique digital kittens, each represented by an ERC-721 NFT, became so popular that it temporarily congested the entire Ethereum network. Suddenly, the world realized that people were willing to pay significant sums to own unique and verifiable digital objects. CryptoKitties were not just a game. They were proof that the concept of digital scarcity and blockchain-certified ownership had a powerful appeal and an untapped market potential. The era of NFTs had officially begun. The NFT explosion, art, collectibles, and the Metaverse. If CryptoKitties lit the fuse, the 2020 to 2021 biennium was the true explosion of the NFT bomb. What had begun as a niche experiment transformed into a global cultural and financial phenomenon, capturing the imagination of artists, collectors, celebrities, and investors, and generating front-page headlines worldwide. Digital art was one of the first and most impactful arenas of this explosion. Artists who for years had struggled to monetize their work in a digital world where copies were easy and free found in NFTs a way to sell original, certified, and traceable works. The most emblematic case was the sale of the work, Every Days, the First 5,000 Days by the Artist People by Christie's auction house for a staggering $69.3 million in March 2021. This event legitimized NFTs in the eyes of the traditional art world and triggered a veritable gold rush. But interest was not limited to high art. Digital collectible projects like CryptoPunks, actually born in 2017 but rediscovered and revalued during the boom, and Bored Ape Yacht Club, BAYC, became status symbols with individual NFTs trading for millions of dollars and entire communities forming around these collections. Use cases rapidly diversified, invading every corner of the digital world and beyond. Gaming, unique in-game items, weapons, skins, characters, truly owned by players and tradable even outside the game itself. The play-to-earn model began to take hold, promising players real profit from their playtime. Metaverse, the idea of persistent and interconnected virtual worlds found in NFTs, the fundamental building block for ownership of virtual land, avatars, digital clothing, and other assets within these new digital realities. Music, artists selling limited editions of songs or albums as NFTs, offering direct royalties or exclusive experiences to owners. Event tickets, non-forgeable and easily transferable tickets with the possibility of additional benefits for holders. Certificates of authenticity for luxury goods, important documents, or anything requiring incontestable proof of origin and ownership. Despite criticism and the subsequent market correction, the NFT explosion undeniably demonstrated one thing: the desire to own, collect, and trade unique digital assets is real and deeply rooted. It opened a crucial debate on the meaning of value, ownership, and art in the digital age. Conclusions: towards a decentralized and tokenized future. The journey we have undertaken, from the first cryptographic insights of Haber and Stornetta to the multicolored explosion of NFTs, tells a story of bold innovation and a constant search to redefine the paradigms of trust and value in the digital age. Blockchain, born as an infrastructure for a peer-to-peer currency like Bitcoin, has demonstrated a plasticity and potential that go far beyond its origins, transforming into a platform for a myriad of decentralized applications. NFTs, in turn, have upended our conceptions of ownership, uniqueness, and art in the digital world. They have given artists new tools for expression and monetization, collectors new universes to explore, and all of us a taste of what ownership might look like in the impending metaverse and the broader Web3. Of course, the path has not been and will not be without obstacles. Challenges related to scalability, usability, sustainability, and navigating the complex regulatory landscape will require commitment, collaboration, and continuous innovation. Speculative bubbles and misuse of technology are inherent risks in any major technological change, but they should not obscure the long-term transformative potential. We are witnessing the slow but inexorable construction of an infrastructure for a more decentralized, transparent, and tokenized future, a future where individuals may have greater control over their data and assets, where communities can organize and make decisions in new and fairer ways, and where the very concept of value could be redefined. Understanding the history and mechanisms of blockchain and NFTs is no longer an exercise for insiders only, but a necessity for anyone who wants to consciously navigate the waters of the 21st century. Whether you are an artist, entrepreneur, investor, or simply a digital citizen, these technologies will, in one way or another, impact your lives. The journey has just begun, and the most exciting pages of this story have yet to be written. The future is decentralized, and we are all invited to build it, one block and one token at a time.
If you are fascinated by how blockchain, NFTs, and AI are transforming the world and want to know more, you can't miss this exclusive video. Click now to find out more about this revolution and stay up to date on the latest trends and innovations in the sector.